days. We are publicizing it now, however,
A
in
minute
order
back.
to lay bare the extent previously noted our strong concerns regarding Russian disinformation and the likelihood that Moscow might seek to create a false flag operation to initiate military activity. Now, we can say that the United States has information that Russia is planning to stage fabricated attacks by Ukrainian military or intelligence forces as a pretext for a further invasion of Ukraine. One possible option the Russians are considering, and which we made public today, involves the production of a propaganda video, a video with graphic scenes of false explosions depicting corpses, crisis actors pretending to be mourners, and images of destroyed locations or military equipment, entirely fabricated by Russian intelligence.
Well, it's zeros and ones from here without any real pictures to determine how that property did look to what it is look like over the head on the satellite, mean Greenwich time.
Military aggression against Ukraine. We don't know if Russia will necessarily use this or another option in the coming days. We are publicizing it now, however, in order to lay bare the extent of Russia's destabilizing actions
those other challenge coins,
and to dissuade Russia from continuing this dangerous campaign and ultimately launching a military attack. Russia has signaled it's willing to continue diplomatic talks as a means to de-escalate, but actions such as these suggest otherwise.
Well, they don't want to say anything, really, and that's the problem, because that's how I call out Cthulhu. I'll be like, okay, teach me. Here's the keys. I'd like the marshmallow on the mask app about your top-level chemists over there, seeing that they basically made the periodic table, all the elements on the globe for the probability of dropping it out of solution. Dip it a bit, top out of mouth.
To de-escalate tensions and to engage in diplomacy and dialogue for a peaceful solution. Thank you.
No, that's where we begin. That's where the square is. Talk about inverse pilot here and shake it out. Hit that stick.
Suggest otherwise. Meaning they suggest they're not interested in talks and they're going to go ahead with some kind of
And who does rush Winter Games when you actually have the Olympics that define what that standard is? I mean, that's going to be your nutritionist body line, your Common Core, critical theory for the MOS of the National Guard, AC out this morning smashing it down for National Guard. Of course, he went heavy, but the actual CNBC photons, Beta U, Beta V, next to that is obviously Mexico, that one young lady in the photoelectric effect that determined what any false information would be in that set.
This is not the first time we've made these reports.
And again, I feel sorry for the Post in itself. I don't know how his True Dynamics turn.
What report public?
Yes.
If you'll let me finish, I will tell you what report we made public. We told you a few weeks ago that we have information indicating Russia also has already prepositioned a group of operatives to
that would be document
a false
number.
operation in eastern Ukraine.
Document
so
number.
To your question, is an action that Russia has already taken.
It's an action that you say that they have taken, but you have shown no evidence.
No documentation as far as what that diagram
I'm going
is.
to get to the next question here, which is, what is the evidence that they? I mean, this is like
Question.
Really?
No Stoker
like
with the board meeting. Questions. Military structure. 7 principles.
What evidence do
NP.
you have to support the idea that there is some propaganda film in the
We should be able to make the determination of truly whether it's propaganda or not, because across the board, YouTube and any VPN across the standard is going to have Swedish Special Forces, American Special Forces, Russian Special Forces, China. That's the recruiting pages. We have specifically the industrial model in case another country forgot what that was when you walked into Yemen or Ukraine or any other place that didn't have at least bar for that standard in that field. Because even if ours went out there in Afghanistan or anywhere else or Ukraine and stood in the same field, you'd still have what?
What would you like, Matt?
I would like to see.
I would like to see that documentation as far as their military structure, that they can handle it from the NATO level, whether it's Russia or anybody. Russia should be able to say, hey, look, I'm happy about the cosmonaut training program, those things across the board in terms of what the chains and rails across the board are in terms of the timeline of where those defined systems go. And you got arborists in the garbage truck, brother, out there, and all that crap outside the Kremlin comes out here for the play across the board as well, which doesn't necessarily need to be necessary at all.
Coming out here and saying,
If you could just get out there and kind of be like, well, here's the real issue without the blood getting on the table and us having to do a militia to come in through here before you guys do the middle officer thing, World War II, the farmer run dry, call it quits, hit it again for 2. QD1, QD2, transitory cyclicals, the elements up there in Russia on that periodic table you made.
In the event we're not able to do that, in the event the
there's no tread docs. Obviously, tread docs is a board presentation every single time you hear. You would expect, seeing that 670 was a presentation about specific board presentations given IMA systems of bombed out countries. Now, obviously, if the program were on later, how you would form it today still has a 0-1 index of where it would be set to the bandwidth and the carbon index if we had some Ben Eaters out there figuring out what the frame rates were. Arduinos and stuff, jump systems, obviously you need what that is. Well, that's beauty on time topology. It doesn't matter whether it's Ukraine or Russian. Sometimes the American soldier would do exactly as the Ukrainians do. Well, firstly, given the derivative gravity over what the base index is forming anybody to go in there to say the tracks need to roll through. And any of those photons would be our system at any country level to use that as a banner, freedom to assemble, right to bear arms, or anybody. And why wouldn't you?
It's unprovable. My God. What is the evidence that you have that suggests that the Russians are even planning this?
Matt, what is your limiting factor?
But you just come
ask a contract behind you. What are you? You know, in the end of this, again, I feel bad for the Post because all he can really say is my upper staff management says I'm only allowed to say this and there's no reason to be out here because they didn't give me any fucking board presentation when I was out there in that fucking mill. And just like they don't in Ukraine, just like they don't in Russia because the mass gap is hard, just like fucking Twister theory. Step up to the board.